Hey cinema fans, welcome back to another movie review. Today we got Fast and Furious 6. Alright, so let's get this out the way. From the acting standpoint, I think the best acting still comes from, I'm gonna say Letty, I don't remember the actress's name, correct me in the comments. Somewhat with Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, but I feel like the acting does take a little bit of a back step. I mean, there's a certain point at the end of the film where the acting chops come out for all the characters, but for overall in the film, it doesn't really match up to what they were able to do in Fast 1, 4, and 5. And the action's always great, but I just feel like a lot of the plot in this film was shoehorned in just to move along the plot. And we definitely get that in Fast 7, but Fast 6 just seems like the writers didn't really know where to go with the franchise after Fast 5. So they brought Letty back, and they do that constantly throughout the franchise, and we'll get to that, but it feels like it's not as organic to bring these characters together as Fast 5 was. And that's what I loved about Fast 5 compared to 6 and 7 and the rest of the franchise, is that it didn't have to have a big threat to bring these characters together, because a lot of these characters you would think, well, why would they even, like, yes, they've known each other for a bit, but there's nothing, like, I get the whole plot is family comes first, you know, the family saves everything, but like it just doesn't make sense for a lot of these characters to all of a sudden forget everything that happened in the past, or even, you know, portray their own character development to really make this plot work. But also, I feel we also lose some of the Paul Walker and Vin Diesel brotherly bond a little bit. And I mean, obviously, Fast 7, there's a big thing that happens in Fast 7 with Paul Walker passing away, but Fast 6 really, there is no reason for that. It just feels like it's more Vin Diesel's story than Paul Walker's story. You know what I mean? And that's what it feels like for the whole franchise. It feels like the first half of the franchise was mainly a Paul Walker, Vin Diesel story, and then it kind of transitions into like just a Vin Diesel story. I would give this film a 7.6 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and follow for more. Hey cinema fans, welcome back to another movie review. Today we got Furious 7. First things first, rest in peace, Paul Walker. Now, unlike Fast 6, again, it does feel like a purely Vin Diesel story, but there is a plot where basically something happens to Han. I don't want to spoil it for people that have not seen this film or this whole franchise, but there is a somewhat common thread to bring the rest of the cast together for, you know, what happens to Han, because it makes sense from, you know, the bond they share from Fast 5 and Fast 6, and so it makes sense. And the villain, which is Jason Statham's character, it makes sense because of Fast 6, but it just, again, it feels like, unlike I said, like Fast 5 felt like it was organic to bring these characters together, but this time, again, they're using a overarching big threat to bring these characters together, unlike having it being organic. But don't get me wrong, I mean, the action, I feel like they do somewhat kind of put a little bit of pressure into, not pressure, but they push into a little bit more of the Vin Diesel and Paul Walker brotherly bond a little bit in this film. And but unlike Fast 6, this one does a little bit better on that department. But overall, it feels like, again, a Vin Diesel story, not a Paul Walker story. It just felt like his character and his story took a big backstep, while Vin Diesel and really his story kind of goes forward into the franchise, while you have Dwayne Rock trying to take over Vin Diesel's spot a little bit. And honestly, another person that took a backstep is Dwayne Rock a little bit. It definitely goes into the overtopness a lot in this film, and that this is where it really, I mean, Fast 6 does that too, but this one is where it's like, okay, there's no way they survived this, that, and the other. I mean, Fast 6, they do the same thing, but it keeps building. It's at this point, it's more of a, how can they top the overtopness from the last film? But I didn't mention this in my last two reviews, but like, the reason why people still love the series is because it's fun. They make it fun. I give this film a solid 7.9 out of 10. Thank you for watching and follow for more. Hey cinema fans, welcome back to another movie review. Today we got The Fate of the Furious, well, Fast 8. Now, right after Fast 7, we no longer have the character of Paul Walker, rest in peace. So it really goes full force into Vin Diesel's story, which again, and I'm trying to make it, I feel like I'm making it like it shouldn't be that way, but again, it kind of just focuses more on Vin Diesel's story than not giving any plot story to, Ludacris, to Tyrese, or sometimes even Letty just feels like she's just there to be there, and same for Dwayne Rock, and he starts to be this, he starts to kind of in a way, not trying to say he's replacing Paul Walker at the time, but it felt like he was trying to fill that shoe in, because if Paul Walker were to be alive for this film, it would have definitely been Paul Walker trying to save, or trying to figure out why Vin Diesel basically went rogue. I mean, it makes sense for why Vin Diesel does what he does to save his kid, but again, using overarching world-ending threat to bring all these characters together to the point where, literally kicking a nuke from a submarine on ice cap, just anything. All of it does not make any sense. And if it was for real life, I mean, I understand films in Hollywood, it asks you to really suspend your belief in reality, but it really starts to push that a bit too much, and they do it a lot in Fast 9. But overall, I mean, the acting, I think Vin Diesel's acting definitely shines a little bit in this film, but overall, everyone else seems like just a side character, and it was just a Vin Diesel story. And that's never been the case for a Fast and Furious film, for me personally. I feel like these characters had no depth, it was just a Vin Diesel, and that was it. But I have to give this movie a 6.9 out of 10.